where survival speaks back at the boundary. A few weeks ago, I stood in the checkout line of a grocery store, watching the quiet choreography of hands, barcodes, and beeps. A woman in front of me unloaded oranges onto the black rubber trough, each fruit rolling slightly before settling into place. The cashier lifted an orange, passed it across the scanner, and a sharp beep cut through the ambient hum of refrigerators and fluorescent lights. A small sound, but not a small act. That beep was the moment the world said, "Yes. What you made still fits the world I live in." It was the supermarket's membrane confirming that its internal model still matched external reality. The beep was not just economic, it was biological. It struck me that every living system, cells, brains, institutions, survives by managing exchanges across a boundary between inside and outside. The checkout scanner is simply one of the many thresholds where survival speaks back. Thesis: across many levels of organization, systems do not survive by being fast or slow in isolation. They survive by synchronizing their internal timing with the tempo of the world around them. This pattern, visible in the lineage from the first cell membrane to the modern supermarket, is ancient and easily overlooked. This essay follows that pattern. The first boundary: life's original contract. Life began at an edge. Roughly 4 billion years ago, the early Earth was a roiling broth of ions, minerals, and sunlight. From this chemical tumult, a thin lipid membrane formed, fragile, permeable, and utterly radical. Biologists Humberto Maturana and Francisco Varela later described such self-producing systems as autopoietic, entities that continuously remake themselves by regulating the flow of matter and energy across a boundary. That first membrane did not merely contain life. It created the conditions for life by shielding the internal chemistry from the dissolving tendencies of the outside world. Too open, and the protocell would melt back into the ocean's entropy. Too closed, and it would starve. A membrane is more than a wall. It's a question. What do I let in? What do I keep out? A glucose gradient was sensed. A channel opened. An ion pump fired. Life bought another moment. Every organism since has inherited this logic. Survival begins at the boundary. The Markov blanket. How a system becomes a self-neuroscientist. Carl Friston formalized what the first membrane implied by intuition. His concept of the Markov blanket describes the boundary that separates a system's internal states from the external world. It is not a metaphor, but a mathematical partition. The set of variables through which any system must sense and act. A cell membrane is a literal Markov blanket. A retina is another. An organization's market interface is a third. Friston's broader free energy principle proposes that systems survive by minimizing surprise or prediction error, reducing the gap between what they expect and what the world delivers. That gap is not abstract, it's metabolic. Large mismatches cost energy. Persistent mismatches cause collapse. This is the same logic the first membranes followed. Transform the external world's uncertainty into internal order. Keep the gradient. Keep the difference. Keep the self intact. Every living system negotiates with entropy across its Markov blanket. Most of the time, this negotiation is invisible. But every now and then, it produces a sound. A channel opening, a neuron firing, a checkout scanner beeping. Threshold 2. The brain builds a better boundary. When nervous systems evolved, organisms didn't abandon the membrane. They built a hierarchy of internal boundaries, predictions, expectations, imagined futures. The brain is fundamentally a prediction engine. It simulates the world ahead of time so the organism can act before it's too late. But prediction is metabolically expensive. The human brain consumes roughly 20% of the body's energy, even at rest. Thinking is costly, so evolution built multiple tempos of response, fast loops, reflexes and automatic responses that act before conscious thought, intermediate loops, learned routines, muscle memory, habits, slow loops, deliberation, planning, imagining futures. Neuroscience research in predictive processing shows that these loops form a layered inference system. Fast loops handle familiar, stable demands. Slower loops engage when prediction error spikes. When the world deviates sharply from the expected pattern, the system must open its slower, more expensive cognitive gates. One example, catching a ball. Your brain predicts its trajectory before your eyes can track it. The fast sensory-motor loop takes the lead. But if the wind shifts or the ball wobbles unexpectedly, prediction error rises. Slower cortical circuits intervene to update the model. You may stumble or miss, momentarily misaligned with reality. This mismatch, neuroscientists show, appears milliseconds before failure. The organism's timing slips. The world surges ahead. The boundary falters. Survival, biological or cognitive, depends on keeping prediction and environment close enough in tempo that the slower loops can correct the fast ones before collapse. Threshold. 3. Social systems learn the same trick. Human societies echo this architecture at a collective scale. Sociologist Niklas Luhmann argued that social systems survive by maintaining boundaries of communication, laws, markets, norms, that buffer internal structure from external chaos. These are societal Markov blankets. Public health systems sense pathogens. Financial markets sense shifts in confidence. Democracies sense public sentiment through elections. Companies sense customer behavior through sales and feedback. But these sensing loops operate at different speeds. As environmental tempos accelerate, climate shocks, technological upheavals, social churn, slow societal loops struggle to keep up. Mismatch accumulates. Consider a concrete case of temporal misalignment. In 2010, Lake Erie's western basin shifted abruptly from clear water ecology to persistent toxic algal blooms. Biologist Martin Scheffer and colleagues describe this pattern, delayed recovery from small perturbations, as critical slowing down, an early warning signal of impending collapse. The edges of the system, microscopic fluctuations in dissolved oxygen, subtle changes in turbidity, registered danger years before policy and regulation responded. The edges knew first. The center learned last. This same dynamic plays out in institutions, markets, and companies. When feedback from the environment slows or becomes distorted, the boundary becomes blind, and blind boundaries fail. Back to the checkout line. Which brings me back to the beep. The checkout scanner is the supermarket's Markov blanket. It is the boundary where internal expectation meets external truth. Every beep is a microcycle of Friston's free energy logic. A reduction of uncertainty, a confirmation that the model still holds. If those beeps slowed or stopped, or fell out of sync with the flow of customers, the system would not collapse immediately. It would exhibit early signals, rising inventory variance, delayed restocking, subtle economic turbulence at the edges. Exactly the pattern Scheffer found in ecosystems. Exactly the pattern neurologists observe before cognitive decline. Exactly the pattern organizations exhibit before obsolescence. In biological terms, the store is maintaining its gradient, the difference between resource inflow and metabolic cost. In practical terms, it is making and remaking itself one beep at a time. Timing as destiny. The deeper I looked, the more I saw the same architecture repeating. Chemical reactions must happen in sequence. Plants must bloom in season. Neurons must fire in rhythm. Animals must move before the predator closes the gap. Institutions must adapt before public sentiment reaches a tipping point. Even the Nobel-winning research on circadian rhythms shows that the machinery of life insists on knowing what time it is. This is the oldest lesson. Life is a negotiation across a boundary. Survival requires matching the system's internal tempo to the world's external change rate. Too fast, and the system burns itself out. Too slow, and the world outpaces it. Misaligned, and entropy seeps through the membrane, but aligned, just aligned enough, and the system survives one more cycle. The edges know first. Scheffer's work on early warning signals shows that collapse often begins with micro delays in responsiveness, tiny hesitations, subtle recoveries that take longer than they should. In ecology, it's critical slowing down. In neuroscience, it's rising prediction error. In organizations, it's friction at the customer interface. The edges feel the truth first because they are closest to the world. When early signals go unheeded, the center drifts into a false sense of stability. When boundaries fall out of sync, systems become brittle. When timing slips, collapse accelerates. In every domain, the story is the same. Pay attention to the edges. They hear the future first. The oldest conversation. Watching those oranges roll across the scanner, I realized that every threshold, biological, cognitive, social, speaks in the same cadence. The membrane must sense. The system must interpret. The organism must act. The world speaks. The system answers. Survival is decided in the space between. Across billions of years, this pattern has proved resilient not because it is universal, but because it is useful. It is a way of seeing the world through its boundaries, and through the timing that keeps those boundaries alive. Closing the loop. The woman gathered her bag and walked toward the sliding doors. The scanner quieted. The line moved. My own groceries approached the edge. I lifted an apple. The cashier pulled it gently across the glass. The beep sounded. There it was again. A tiny echo of an ancient negotiation. A membrane opening. A boundary updating. A moment where survival speaks back. If you want to understand a living system, don't look at the center. Look at the boundary where the world crosses into it. Look at the edge, where timing decides everything. That is where the future begins.